This is the front bench where we engage your leaders who matter a lot when it comes to issues shaping the nation. On our WhatsApp number 0709602592, you can send in your questions and comments. Tonight, I do have the Attorney General, Honorable Kiryowa Kiwanuka, together with the Solicitor General, Mr. Pius. We are going to be diving into a number of issues regarding the law and also other issues. We shall also be understanding what they really have to do within their office when it comes to issues advising the government. Remember, the Attorney General is the principal legal advisor of the government. Honorable AG, you're most welcome. Thank you so much for sparing time. Yeah. First things first, what is your mandate as the Attorney General and what importance is the work you do for Ugandans?
Thank you, Jethro. I think first of all what we need to understand is that this is a country of laws, a country of principles. And the principles are set out in what we'll have as our grand norm as the principal legislation, which is the Constitution. And like you said, the Constitution under Article 119 does not permit, like you said, it mandates and directs the Attorney General to be the principal legal advisor of government. In this process, we are required to look at all the contracts that are entered into by government to determine whether they are legally sound, that they do not breach any of the laws of the land. We are also then required to assist and work in as far as legislation is concerned. All the bills, all the laws that are written and prepared in this country are processed through the Attorney General's chambers. We are also required to render general advice on all matters law. So we also then get into regulatory functions, like in the Law Council, we regulate through the Ministry of Justice. So basically everything that has to do with the law is required to be done by the Attorney General's chamber. Legislation, advice, negotiations, drafting of documents, drafting of agreements, and then obviously representing government in courts. And that is all government, meaning ministries, departments, and agencies. So in a nutshell, that is the role of the Attorney General, and that is the role of the Attorney General's chambers as per our legal framework.
Honorable, looking at what you've done so far as the Attorney General, you've talked about advising government on a number of issues. Are you contented so far? I do understand you came into office in 2021,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken. But for now, for the time you've been in office, are you contented with what you've done so far when it comes to issues advising government?
I think that would be an interesting question. Yes, I think we have done well in the circumstances. We've done everything that we can do in as far as advising government on matters of law. We've done very that is doing all this work, and the Attorney General, obviously, they all do the work on the commission of the Attorney General, but the final word sits with the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, Solicitor General, Deputy Solicitor General, and then you go down to the directors. I think we've done well. I think you will be the one to judge us, but I think we've done well. I'm happy time is concerned. I think we've done very well.
Thank you so much. SG, in simple terms, the simplest words possible, when someone gets to hear of the Solicitor General, what is your work? What do you do? A Ugandan wants to understand.
Thank you, Jethro. My work is simple. We support the Attorney General under the law. As I said, the mandate is from Article 119 of the Constitution. And then it is cascaded down in other pieces of legislation, like in the Interpretation Act, which provides for what they call the law officers of government. So the Solicitor General is the most senior public officer in the Attorney General's chambers. The Solicitor General works on issues that have been commissioned or as instructed by the Attorney General. In fact, the law says that any power that is conferred on the Attorney General or duty imposed on him can be done by the Solicitor General in two circumstances. One is where the Attorney General is unable to do his work by virtue of either illness or absence, if he's away. And then the second one, and I think the most important, is where he has conferred on us duties to handle. So I will supervise that whole edifice that he has talked about on his behalf, the other public officers doing the work that the Attorney General has mandated us to do.
Isn't it too much for your office when it comes to issues supporting the Attorney General, given the fact that he almost has to look into every detail, every paperwork that comes to your office?
It is a lot of work, but as the Attorney General has said, we have behind us a very good team of lawyers, very, very efficient and capable. So we are able to support the Attorney General in his mandate because of that core team that is behind us.
Okay.
Yeah.
AG, sorry. Let's talk about the systematic issues that so far are being put in place when it comes to issues advising government. Because outside there, Ugandans seem not to be happy with some of the things that probably come out of your office. Maybe because they're ignorant, maybe because they do not know. But you are at the helm of everything that is being done by government.
Yeah, say that they are not happy because you may not agree with the opinion rendered by the Attorney General. The only question will be, is it founded in law? It may not necessarily be the opinion that pleases you, but is it founded in law? So for me, the question that anyone would put to anyone is, what part of the law do you disagree with? And once you can't answer that question, then I say I've done my part. You may not like it, but that is what it is. But also, Jethro, as you know, we go to court at times and lose cases. So our understanding of the law may be that, and that is why the system, as has been set out, has that opportunity for you to test what it is that we have done. So I cannot sit here and tell you that we can play God on earth. And in fact, if I tell you that I know every law there is, then I'll be telling a lie. But we do our best. We read the law, we interpret it as best as we can in the circumstances. But also, the interpretation of law is always based on the facts that obtain at that time. So you cannot quite interpret the law in abstract. You have to look at the facts. So at times it may come off as, oh, that's not a fair, it's not the right position, but that is what it is. So for us, we are happy when people come up and say, I don't agree with this opinion. We are happy to sit down and review it together, because the law is there, the book is there, we can both read it, and if we find that we were wrong, we can correct that. But I think thus far we've done quite well. We've looked at the numbers that are coming out of the courts in as far as our cases are concerned when we are challenged, and I think our rates of success are quite high. That is the thing. But we also lose some, and we are going to make mistakes. For me, I tell my officers that I would not be very, very perturbed by a lawyer making a mistake, so long as the mistake is done in good faith and there is no ulterior motive towards that, because that's the nature of the law. If you put two lawyers in a room and put one section of the law, you can get 4 interpretations from that same section of the law. So for me, as Attorney General, the law has mandated that it is my opinion that is going to count at that time. How
do you assure independence in all this?
Independent from what?
When you're giving advice.
I don't have to be independent from anyone, because the law is very clear. It is clear that if it says that this is what is supposed to be done, I don't have to be independent from anyone. And I'm not required to be independent from anyone. I'm required to be objective. I'm required to be objective in the way I render advice. I think we'll try and think. I hear that a lot when they say, no, but you are the government lawyer, so you are going to give an opinion which favors the government. Well, if it favors the government and it's the law, then it's the law. But if it doesn't favor government, I will not render that opinion, because it will not be a legal opinion.
And strictly when it comes to politically sensitive investigations, I think that is where the issue usually comes in.
No, you see, we don't render advice as if we are seated in a room alone. You render advice based on the circumstances that obtain at the time. So this law was made to keep us in like. So if the government is going this way, my job is to say no, that where we are going is not the correct way. And likewise, if the public is going that way, that's my job. So it is a question of keeping objectivity. And for me, the test always is you make the legal argument. If you make the legal argument and I was wrong, then I'll correct it. But you may not like it. But if that is the correct interpretation of the law, it's the only interpretation I'm going to give you.
At what time do you come to a conclusion, AG, when it comes to issues? You've talked about dialogue. You sit with a number of people. You have a team that you work with. I do understand, for example, in Parliament, a number of issues have been really coming up, and you've been trying to advise and answer some of those questions. But remember, you're also being challenged by lawyers who are also in the system. Yeah. How do you come to a conclusion, however much you're talking about what the law states at that particular time? Yeah,
you see, the beauty about it all is that we can have this dialogue for a long time, and if you don't agree on a position, then definitely my position is going to stand until the court says otherwise. Okay. That is the structure of the law. It's like going to court. You have two lawyers, they enter the courtroom. One is making the argument and the other one is making the argument. You can agree to compromise and say, we both agree that this is the position of the law. But if you fail, then the judge will have to make the decision. So even in our instance, I'll have situations where the lawyers have a view, I have a different view. We can discuss it separately, share opinion, and then the lawyers say, no, we don't agree with you, Attorney General. I say, well, now I've taken a decision that this is my interpretation of the law. I do not begrudge the lawyer from having his view. Fortunately for us, now
so we have to go by that.
That is the position that obtains. Once I've written the opinion and said, this is my opinion. That's the opinion that obtains. But the records are there because the lawyer's opinion, which was different from mine, is still there. You know, now we're online. So everything is there. So the opinion is there, my opinion is there. If tomorrow you can check and say, oh, who was right? I could have been right, I could have been wrong. But you see, a decision has to be made. An interpretation must be made. And I think that's why the Constitution required that there will be the Attorney General who will then be the one who makes the final opinion. But I think the issue is objectivity. Once you listen to the arguments of all the parties concerned, then you will be able to come up with a realistic opinion, a legal opinion, which takes into consideration the circumstances obtaining at the time.
SG, is there a difference between the work you do and the work done by lawyers in other agencies in government?
Absolutely. I mean, again, we have to start from Article 119 of the Constitution.
Okay.
The mandate given to the Attorney General, he's the advisor, legal advisor, chief legal advisor of government. So, yes, some MDAs have lawyers, but their opinions must be subjected to the Attorney General's opinion. So most times they will do a lot of work, but at the end of the day they must submit their work again to the Attorney General's chambers for us to look through it and approve it. So that is the main difference. They cannot give or issue binding opinions on government in the same way that the Attorney General does. That ultimately there has to be that person, that one person who gives that opinion. So for the MDAs, they will have their lawyers, but ultimately...
Because of the hierarchy, probably?
Well, no, of course not. And I think that's the point, again, the Honorable Attorney General made. It's about the law. Are they correct under the law, or are they wrong?
Delaying to render legal advice. Is this the case?
I think the office has done quite a lot to try and reduce the turnaround time. I think the Honorable Attorney General, when he came in, there are so many changes that have been instituted that we are enforcing. And I think the complaints must be fewer than they were before. We have a client charter which says that we commit ourselves to respond within 14 days from the time when a submission is made to our office.
Okay.
And by and large, I think they have worked, the staff, the attorneys have worked very hard to meet that. But of course, you have to, well, I think on average, every day we receive over 100 applications or, you know, for legal advice.
Okay.
You have to read the files, you read the law, look at what courts have said about similar circumstances, and proffer advice.
Okay.
Including contracts. Contracts, many people understand them as procurements. Of course, there are other challenges. Someone will give you just one sheet of paper and he wants you to advise on a $100 million transaction. You know, so there's always some back and forth. But by and large, I think that complaint has reduced quite a bit. There's a lot that has been done to try and manage that situation.
Well, through providing legal advice to government entities, I like the fact that Attorney General, Honorable Kiryowa Kiwanuka, has ensured that our country's policies and decisions are in line with the law. This is Honorable Tusingwire Teddy. She used our hashtag on UBC front page. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your questions and comments coming in. For now, allow me to take a commercial break. We return with more great insights. Don't go away.
Answering the questions that matter to us. Join the conversation. This is the front bench.
Buza Commissioner, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear Chitenge at 10,000. And when we are selling Chitenge, we sell it at 17. So we don't know whether we are working or not.
Understanding your tax obligations can help you grow your business and avoid unnecessary losses. Now, you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887 and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
This is the front bench.
This is the front bench. Keep your questions coming in on our WhatsApp number 0709602592. We are talking about good governance and the rule of law, of course, with the Office of the Attorney General. AG, your mandate has to ensure smooth running of government projects and very many other issues within. That means that there must be efficiency. We want to understand what are some of the steps that you've put in place to enhance this efficiency within the system.
Thanks, Jethro. I think first of all, government MDAs tend to have similar kind of issues. You'll have an MDA dealing with employment issues, you'll have an MDA dealing with procurement issues. They have the same kind of genre of issues. So one of the things that we instituted was issuing advisories. So if you look at a matter and you realize that there are so many issues coming from, similar issues coming from different MDAs, so it is probably likely that it is also happening in another MDA which has not yet come to you. So what we did is that once we find an issue like that, then we issue a general advisory on that issue and say, for example, if you're going to if you're going to send a request for clearance of a contract procurement, we need certain things. Because like as SG was saying, they'll send in a request for advice, and one person sends 2 documents, another entity sends 5, another sends 12 different documents. But we know the process, what documents are involved in that process. So we issue a wide advisory and say to all MDAs, when you're sending requests of this nature, we expect you to attach these as a checklist. So that increases the efficiency. Secondly, we no longer have situations where one officer is handling a matter. That doesn't happen in the Attorney General's chambers. So in the Attorney General's chambers, you will find at least 3 officers assigned to any matter. So if you get 100 matters in a day, there will be 3 officers assigned to each and every one of those matters. Meaning that if the Attorney General is not available, Deputy Attorney General is available, or the Solicitor General is available, one of us will be available to handle that matter. So it's not acceptable in the office for us now for me to know about some matters which the Deputy Attorney General doesn't know about, or the Solicitor General doesn't know about, or the Deputy Solicitor General doesn't know about. So we would like that to be, that has helped, because anyone who walks in at any time will find an officer who is familiar with that matter. So I was just using that as an example. Obviously, when it comes to these matters, you'll have a matter handled by the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, a commissioner, rather a director and a commissioner and other officers as you go down. But then at the very bottom of the tier, the people who are handling the matter, those 3, at least must be 3. So all these matters will be known by all these people. And then the 3 will bring up the matter. So it's not possible for you to call me on a Sunday and tell me about a matter and I say, I have never heard of that matter. No, that is not that. Then obviously we've created teams. We've started specializing. In the ministry now, in the Attorney General's chambers, you have departments like land and environment. You have departments like natural resources. You have commercial law and transactions, those guys who go to negotiate contracts on loans. Then you have people who are dealing with public law and administration. You have people who are doing just procurement law. So the idea of specialization is that these officers will be doing this almost every day. And as they become specialists in this, then the issue becomes quicker for them to handle. Because if I've been handling a procurement matter, and that's what I've been doing the whole month, so the sections of the law become to my fingertips and the issues become easier. And then obviously we've gone online.
Okay.
In the Attorney General's chambers now, all our matters are done online. So if I receive an instruction from an MDA, I send the instruction down to the Solicitor General, the Solicitor General sends it down. But I can see who he has sent it to, when it was sent, who is doing that. I can comment. As they're having the conversation, I can comment as it comes back up. So that has made it efficient. By the time I assign a matter to the Solicitor General, I've also attached the department that is handling, the director that is handling. So as the Solicitor General also reads through the matter and comes up with his own view of the matter, all the other officers are also having an opportunity to look at the matter, so it doesn't come. So we've tried to do that, and then obviously we are increasing on the regional offices, because we now have regional offices. Now we are working on making them 10 regional offices, meaning that the people from Rwenzori don't have to come to Kampala. Once they put their matter in the office in Kasese, they'll just put it online and we can see it online and to be handled there. Where they have to go and attend to court, it is done there. So that has helped us to become a little bit more efficient. It's good, it has its advantages, it has its disadvantages, but the issue is that at least you can be able to get an answer almost in real time. If I call an officer now and I asked, there's this issue that I've been asked about, what is the status? I can read online and be able to see what that officer did. So I don't have to bother. Before I used to call the officer, then you have to look for the file. Now I don't have to call the officer. I can just go online, check the matter, and be able to advise on what the status is. So those are some of the things we are bringing in to make us more efficient. We are also asking public service to give us more officers, because the work is a lot. And as you may appreciate, we have to handle all MDAs, local governments, agencies, everything. So that's what we are doing to try and make the process as efficient as possible. And obviously, the efficiency on time If you get to the Attorney General's chambers at 7:30, everyone is ready to get to work. They leave late, and but they are more efficient because now they can work in more flex. Because the person has his laptop on him, they can work in a more flex manner, but we require that they
within the flow of Parliament. I do understand recently when Minister Norbert Mao was facing the Legal Committee of Parliament, he said you've so far at least saved the government 2.783 trillion shillings.
Yes.
Ideally, we must appreciate, but let's talk about some of the challenges you face. I do understand 1 year ago you did block the anti-narcotics bill. Yeah, 1 year ago. You also blocked alcoholic drinks control bill. A Ugandan, and very many other bills, of course, but a Ugandan may want to understand, at what point do you come in when it comes to such cases? Because these are usually tabled by MPs, given the different agenda they are driving on the floor.
Yeah, yeah, I think you use the wrong word. It's not block. We don't block bills.
Thanks for the correction.
What happens is, like, for example, the alcohol bill, of that bill, which had not been addressed. But secondly, the question you must always ask yourself when coming up with any piece of legislation, what is the mischief that needs to be handled by that bill, which is not already being handled by another piece of legislation that already exists on our statute book? If you want to have a body of law which works, the body of law must be quite clear. People must be able to look at one piece of legislation and find all the answers. So at times we advise that, oh, if there is a mischief that you're trying to address in a new bill, wouldn't it be better to amend the already existing bill and insert those issues in there? The one on psychotropics, it wasn't us who blocked it. It was struck down by the court for having been passed wrongly, and we're just reinstating it, and it was reinstated. So the issue here is that I think that is why the Constitution again requires that even when a private member or anyone else is going to move a bill, you seek the assistance of the MDA, which handles that matter, and the Attorney General. Because for us, all we have to say is, okay, the issue you have can be addressed by this particular section in this particular legislation. What part of that do you want us to clarify? And if we need to clarify, we tend to advise that it may be better to go in that existing legislation and clarify it there. So that's the process of legislation.
We have questions coming in. I'm Stanley Omita from Umbale. What is the role of Attorney General as far as compensations are concerned? Because it seems hardening and changing of position when it reaches his office. Why am I saying that? We are following some compensation, and when we reached his office, it became very difficult, the move. This is Omita Stanley from Umbale.
Yeah, well, our role is to advise, one, whether you are entitled to that compensation. So you may think that you have a claim against government. We may hold a different view. That is one. I don't know the facts of his case, but one, if you come to make a claim for compensation, the first thing we must establish is whether you have a legal claim against government.
Okay.
And once we find that you have a legal claim against government, then our role is to advise the MDA, the Ministry, Department, or agency where that issue falls, to say that needs to be paid. If we don't think you merit compensation, our duty is to advise that no, for this particular legal reason, that person is not entitled to compensation. Ours is just advisory. We don't pay. The only compensation that I think we are handling is an ex gratia, which we handle through the ministry. But all the other payments are supposed to be made directly. So when you go to claim a compensation, you go to the MDA. The MDA will then write to us and ask whether or not it is legally sustainable. And I think, but if we knew the facts, we'll be able to advise.
Okay.
But also you must remember that the Attorney General is the principal legal advisor of government, the lawyer of government. Our job first is to render legal advice, but also to save government from paying. That's our job. Not unfairly, but our job is to try and reduce on the exposure of government. So if you bring a claim, Ours is scrutinize that claim and determine whether that claim is sustainable in law. And if it's not sustainable in law, that's why we go to court. So those numbers that you say, the 2.7 trillion that we save government, those were claims. Those were people who took government to court and said, government ought to be slightly different because
Okay, Eric Wakala, this goes to the SG. My question is, there no law to implement retirement so that other people get some opportunities to serve their nation in various professions? Because government nowadays is not looking at papers, which costed parents a lot of money. SG.
I don't know whether that's a legal question, but yes, there's a law, there's a legal framework that governs the retirement or service of public officers.
Okay.
I think the mandatory retirement is 60, and then you may retire at 55.
You may.
You may, yeah, but that is conditional. So that's why I use the word mandatory. At 60, you leave. But depends the different services in which you're offering your service. But I think the quick answer to that question is yes, we have very good laws that govern the retirement.
Well done, KK. Sorry, I'm reading the message the way it is here. Well done, KK. Had it not been your guidance, some opposition lawyers would have taken this country astray. In the beginning, I didn't know that this is Gaba Demberio. He's actually appreciating your work. I would like to ask the Attorney General, what has he done to help Ugandans who demand umeme yaka meters, yet they have left? Is that in your office?
No, it's not directly in my office, but we've had the benefit of reading the contracts. Umeme was here holding a concession on behalf of government. So the assets that were here belong to government. So when Umeme left, it handed over the assets to UEDCL. So anyone who has an issue of that nature should just go to the UEDCL office and have that matter addressed. And UEDCL is mandated to address that issue.
AG, but the issue of women has also brought about a lot of contention in Parliament. I do not know whether you really did look into the contracts of women. That is, if you were in office probably by that time. I remember the president writing on his X asking if really the people in the office by that time really went through that contract.
Well, the contract is what it is. It did not quite favor us. That's the most honest answer, but it was a negotiation, and that is what we were able to get. It wasn't a contract that favors you, but if you're not if you get into a negotiation, that's what you get. That's what you get. But the terms were not quite favorable, and that is why it has been a very contentious issue of a couple of years. And that is exactly the reason why the decision not to renew the contract came up, because the terms were not favorable to government.
Ruta Hub, thank you for this program. The common person like me, I'm learning. She's appreciating. Question to the AG. What is their opinion about the political prisoners like Dr. Besigye, who according to the news that they watch and submissions by lawyers, looks like they are being denied justice? Can he guide on that? The other question would be, does their office give advice to a common person or only lawyers?
One, on the first question of the political prisoners, I think first of all we need to be very mindful of the society that we are in. The judge can't give a ruling. We lose cases in Attorney General's chambers.
Yes.
You can imagine if every time I lost a case, I came out to say the judge was not fair, they are mistreating us and etc. That's not how it works. You win some, you lose some. Yeah. So that matter is in court. For us, in our rules, I dare not get into the discussion of the matter. But if the court has made a decision and you're not happy with it, you appeal it. And that's what happens, because when you get judgments, we see sometimes people are celebrating. When judgments are given contrary, people are not happy, and now the court and the judge. But I do not want to get into discussing matters which are live, which are ongoing in court, because the rules require us to let the judges make their decisions without any external interference. On the issue of advising the public, you could have a situation where the public is asking for advice on whether or not a public matter is, say you have, say, like the most common thing that we get is people who are in forests, forest reserves, for example. A person is in a forest reserve, there is a village, and they ask for advice. What do we do? So we can do that, but it must be a public issue, a general public issue. But we don't render advice to
a one-man army.
One-man army, no, and it must be a public issue.
Okay.
Yes.
SG, thank you for the educative program and hosting Noble Brains. To Attorney General, during the rationalization of agencies, was it your advice to have arbitration under the Ministry of Justice? If yes, what happens to matters where the attorney is either an applicant or respondent? This is Opio Michael from Kampala.
Yeah, actually that's an interesting question, because many people have asked that even when we're in Parliament came up. I think the issue that the public needs to be aware of is that the Center for Dispute Resolution does not determine matters. In arbitration, the center is just supposed to be an administrative unit to help you manage where you file and that kind of thing. But it does not handle the disputes. In arbitration, the parties choose who is going to determine the matter for them. So, for example, the Center for Dispute Resolution would have a list of arbitrators. You can choose from those, and you go and contact them yourself and say, I would have appointed Jethro to be the arbitrator in my case. So the center does not actually determine those disputes. And so, but the issue of rationalization is that you're trying to create lean and mean arrangements so that the center is there, it is doing that work administratively for government and assisting the public, but doesn't render the decision. So it is not possible that you'll have a dispute between the government and the person being handled by the center. It will be managed, documentation and this, but the arbitration is done by it's party autonomy. The parties must choose the arbitrator they want to use.
All right, Solicitor General. Chris, Don, kindly my observation on this topic is eager to know how the SG comes to know if someone under his office gets bribes or not, whether there are procedures followed to obtain some case, because we have surely been mistreated by the middle class law handlers.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very important question for us. And it's something that we've focused on a lot. And I think the Honorable Attorney General, in explaining some of the things that have been done, they have improved efficiency and your programs on good governance. But they have also improved on transparency. Okay. Now, by going online, one, it reduces the, that confidentiality where somebody is going to hide what they are doing on the file. And in any case, whatever decision that person is going to take on that file will be reviewed all the way up. We'll be able to see what that person is doing. So we really want to encourage the public or whoever is dealing with our office that you absolutely should never pay any money for anyone to do you a service, because it's a service, not even a favor. And that's why we are emphasizing the 2 weeks period. If after 2 weeks you have not received a response, please get in touch with the ministry, get in touch with the Attorney General's chambers and ask what is going on. But also, it is important that if you do have people who are asking you for money in order for you to get a service, the best you can do is to let us know. Because if you keep quiet, then you propagate it. You propagate the problem.
But if for me to get the service, probably in a first way, I also have to first give you something. Isn't that also hindering service delivery at one point?
I don't even see why you should, because as the AG said, when you present your documents, they are received electronically. And as soon as they are received, even now, if I walked out here, I'll be able to go online and see where that document is.
Okay.
Okay? So that's the transparency that we're talking about.
Okay.
If you have your good case, you've got a good matter, just submit it, wait for the 14 days, raise a complaint.
Okay.
We'll certainly get back to you.
Why has the AG decided to refuse to advise Ntoroko District, which suspended staff they hired with no pay? Attorney General.
No, we've advised.
This is actually a KB area.
No, we've advised. We've advised in writing.
We have.
On that Ntoroko issue, if I remember correctly, I remember it.
Okay.
We've advised. And they should, that person who is asking should go to the cow and ask the cow that the Attorney General was on TV saying he had advised. If that is the matter that I think I remember, I think they had recruited some people, and then after some time they dropped them and they said that they are not being recruited properly. And then when they came back in, they said that now they've been dropped. And we've advised and said, no, if they were recruited and they were supposed to be paid, if I remember correctly. But if there is a matter that has not been answered, we are here, we are available, just walk into the office and we'll check, and together we can find the answer.
Jackson from Rubirizi District. Good evening, Uganda. My question to AG, does the President challenge the Attorney General's decision or opinions in a certain manner? And who should challenge him or her decisions?
No, why are you even asking about the President? Every day I'm being challenged by MDAs. I actually have a live case where I wrote to an MDA. I wrote an opinion and told him that what they were doing was wrong.
But his case is about the President?
Yes, I'm just explaining this.
Okay.
They disagreed with me. They went to court and they lost. So even the President can have his view. But the ours is to tell him that, yes, you have your view, but this is the law. And by the way, you may also be pleased to find that being lawyers does not necessarily mean we know everything.
Oh, yeah.
Being lawyers does not mean we know everything. So that is why for us we keep an open mind. If I give you an opinion and you don't agree with
You're
it,
open to advice.
I look at it, I look at what you're saying, I review it. If I still hold the same view, I'll come back to you and say no. And for me, I'm lucky, to be honest with you, that the President listens to legal advice. At least my experience is that I've not given him legal advice which he has said no. He may not necessarily agree with the view that I hold, but he has never said no. I disregard that legal advice.
Okay.
Actually, you'll be very quick to say that's what these lawyers have said, but he may not agree. And I don't expect everyone to agree with the opinion that I give. That's what I said in the beginning, that you may not agree, but you just challenge me on the interpretation of the law, not what you think it should be.
One subject is actually appreciating. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Attorney General for the dedicated legal work and service rendered to our country. Your commitment to upholding the rule of law and ensuring justice strengthens our democracy and serves the public interest. That one is actually appreciating. Does the AG advise on case backlog? We have a case which has not been ruled by the industrial court for over 10 years. This is Felix.
Yes, as the Attorney General, I sit on the Judiciary Council. And the Judiciary Council is where the judiciary plans. And that's an issue that the judiciary has been dealing with. But as you may appreciate, lately, the number of judges has increased from 50 to now 101. The Court of Appeal has increased now to 21 judges. So those are some of the challenges that have been had. But yes, if the matter has taken too long, we don't interfere with the processes of court, but in the Judiciary Council we do raise those issues. So if you have an issue of a matter that has stayed too long, you can send it to us, and we shall always forward it to the judiciary.
Okay, SG, are bylaws accepted to be implemented by some local leaders? Some people in my village want to come up with their own bylaws about drinking and selling of alcohol time, flogging those who overdrink and waging levy of 30K on women whose kids litter the trading center. I'm Moro Ronald from Ojui, Oyam district.
The law allows the councils at the local level to come up with bylaws.
Yeah, bylaws, okay.
But I think it's important to understand that those bylaws, again, must be submitted. The drafts of those bylaws are submitted to the Attorney General's chambers to make sure that, one, they're in accordance with the Constitution and the other relevant laws. So I don't think the law will be allowing them to flog whoever they think has not met them. But yes, the short answer to that is yes, they can do so through, again, their councillors at their district levels, so that they're able, their council can debate those areas which were, you know, preserved for the local governments. Then they will submit them to the Attorney General's chambers. We look through them, the drafting, but also to make sure that they're in line with the laws made by Parliament and the Constitution.
You talked about issues of corruption. What are you doing to the state attorneys who are paid to sanction cases after being bribed? This is Teacher Samuel from Kapchora.
No, I think, I don't know if age was, but any allegation of corruption is really robustly handled.
Yeah, but I think I need to clarify something here, because I think there's a mix-up. We have state attorneys who are in the Attorney General's chambers.
Okay.
Then we have state attorneys who are in the office of the DPP. We do not supervise the office of the DPP in the conduct of their, because constitutionally that is an independent office. But if there is a complaint of that nature and the person has it, they can reach out to us. We can always forward it to the DPP to handle. But if it is our officers, those ones, we will deal with them. All the person has to do is give us the information.
What legal frameworks and bilateral agreements does the government of Uganda have in place to address the trafficking of Ugandan citizens to the UAE and other Middle Eastern countries, and how are these being enforced to ensure the protection, repatriation and rehabilitation of affected individuals? This is Emmanuel Tapem.
Yes, we have got quite a number of bilateral agreements that have been made between Uganda and the sister and brotherly nation in the Middle East, where these children go. And we have an anti-trafficking law. We have all these instruments in place. I think the most important that we can have here is to ask the people who are going, to stick within that framework. We have found that many of the people who find themselves in this difficult situation go outside the framework, and the Ministry of Gender has got a very robust system in place to manage those. But we are trying our best. We have labor attaches in the different capitals now. The Ministry of Gender has got bilateral agreements with the different capitals. But obviously, that's not the policy of government. The policy of government is not to repatriate its human resource.
Okay.
The policy of government is to try as much as possible to find the jobs here. And I think that's where the wealth creation drives and the industrialization processes should be supported robustly, so that we can be able to create the jobs that we need here, so that our people do not have to travel to these other capitals to try and find work.
Solicitor General, our time is fast spent. Yes. Your last remarks to the Ugandans who are watching you right now, as far as your office is concerned and the work that you do.
Thank you very much, Jethro. We want to thank you for this opportunity for us to come and explain the service that we are offering to our country. Ours is an enabling service. We enable the other MDAs to do their work. And that's why it's important for us to keep time, you know, the turnaround time. And want to promise that we'll continue improving to make sure that we serve those MDAs in a timely manner, so that they are able then to go on and give the service to the countrymen that they deserve.
All right. Thank you so much, Solicitor General. Attorney General, your closing remarks. I do understand, as you give your closing remarks, the advice that you've given to government, today you're in office, tomorrow you'll be out of that office. Are you happy? Are you contented with the advice that you've given to government when it comes to what has been so far done? Probably counting yourself out of office tomorrow, will you live in a free and a fair country as far as what you've done is concerned?
Yes, Jethro, absolutely. Absolutely. I am really, really content with the advice that I've given.
Okay.
I'm very clear about the positions we've taken on any issue in as far as the law is concerned. So I am absolutely certain that anyone who wants to challenge me on the law, I am happy to,
you're available
to take it up.
Okay.
But as we close, really, it would be remiss of me to leave this place without really thanking the Minister of Justice, who handles our policy side, and the Permanent Secretary, because for us we've been allowed to just concentrate on the legal work, because the Minister and the PS have done a stellar job, and the administration in the ministry to allow us the space to do work. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't get involved in any administration, and we find our thing going on working well. But also I'd like to thank the officers in the Ministry of Justice. Really, really thank the officers in the Ministry of Justice, both at the center and the different regional offices. Just so, to be honest with you, I think we have some of the best officers. The conditions may not be as good as we would want them to be, but I thank them for the resilience, for the hard work they've put in, and even as much as people have all these complaints, really our officers have been really, really good. So what we can say is to pledge to the country that we shall continue to do our work as best as we can. We call upon you to render us all the support that you can, and where we are wrong, please feel free to come up and point out where we've erred, and we'll correct it if we agree with you. But support these officers as they do their work, because it's a lot of work. They put in very, very many hours. So for the officers in the Attorney General's chambers, for them they are permanent and pensionable. So even as I leave, they will be there. But I think the government, the country should be very, very proud of the officers they have in the Ministry of Justice, because those officers really do a good job. I thank you all for listening.
All right, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from the Attorney General, Honorable Kiryowa Kiwanuka, together with the Solicitor General, Mr. Pius Perry. They are doing a lot within their office to see how best they can really serve Ugandans up to that last person who is in the village. So our role as Ugandans is to appreciate or not to appreciate. But remember, they are also doing their best. Remember, they have a primary role of representing government in court, all right? But also representing when it comes to issues good governance. Have they done enough? Well, it is you to judge. Thank you so much, Attorney General. Thank you so much, Solicitor General, for sparing time. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the front bench. Your questions and comments are still coming on our WhatsApp number. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV. My name is Jethro Kasaiji. From me and the entire team, it's a good night. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you so much for sparing.
We lay our future in the hand, united, free for liberty. Together we'll always stand. Oh, Uganda, the land of freedom, our love and labor we give, and with neighbor
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Imagine a place where healthcare meets compassion.
Others come in and they have families, but families have fallen apart.
Where every patient is treated with dignity and care.
We have just talked about one aspect of it.
Welcome to Mulago National Referral Hospital, the heart of Uganda's healthcare system.
The moment you discharge these patients home without giving them oxygen means you've really written a death sentence.
Takes almost 50% of the cases we are handling are road traffic accidents.
We are encouraging the young ones out there to come and work.
From pediatric care to advanced organ transplants, Mulago's dedicated team is always ready to help.
And in Mulago, since we're a referral, we get the most complex of them because we just don't remove cancer, we remove even everywhere it wanted to spread so that the patient can survive.
Watch Inside Mulago every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate